Forgiveness is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, things that you could ever do. But it doesn't mean letting someone else off the hook. You know, we talk about it all the time. Everyone says they want to forgive, but sometimes it's hard to understand what forgiveness really is and how it fits into healing. Hi, I'm a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos. Today we're talking about forgiveness. What does forgiveness look like? For some, it means condoning unacceptable behavior. Holding on to the negative feelings associated with the offense is like drinking a poison and expecting the other person to die. The person who offended you might not even be in your life anymore, and yet you are still holding on to those negative feelings. It's like you're carrying around a backpack full of rocks and you're starting to feel the weight of it. And the only way to lighten your load is to take out the rocks, to acknowledge the feelings and let them go. It takes time to work through the hurt and the anger, but as you work through these steps, you'll gradually find yourself feeling lighter, freer, and more whole. You might think, I can't believe you did this to me and now you're asking me to forgive you. You might be asking yourself that, won't people just walk all over me? No, it doesn't make you a doormat, it makes you emotionally healthy. Healthy people can set boundaries and enforce those boundaries. And when someone crosses those boundaries, there will be consequences. But the consequences don't have to be punitive. They can be as simple as saying, I am not going to engage in this conversation, or I am not going to be around this kind of behavior. Healthy people can be assertive without being aggressive. How can I ever forgive you? That's a very common thought process, and it is an understandable reaction. There are several studies that have concluded that people who forgive have better physical health outcomes, better psychological health outcomes, and they tend to have better social support than people who don't forgive. Because often people who ask for forgiveness don't feel worthy of being forgiven. Identify the offense. What exactly happened that you need to forgive? Then take responsibility for your part in it. Sometimes we tend to focus on the other person's behavior and we overlook our own behavior. Then focus on your feelings. How did this make you feel? Acknowledge those feelings and allow yourself to feel them. If you try to push the feelings away, you'll just end up suppressing them, then make amends if possible. This might mean having a difficult conversation with someone or even writing them a letter, but try to express how their behavior affected you. And finally, practice compassion. This is the hardest part. Try to see things from their perspective. What could have motivated them to do what they did? Were they acting out of fear or insecurity, or were they just simply unaware of how their behavior affected you? And if they're not acknowledging what they did wrong or showing remorse, it makes it even harder to let go of the hurt. So when you hear the word forgiveness, what comes to mind? But here's the thing, forgiveness isn't about the other person at all. It's about you, so let's break it down. We don't usually get taught emotional regulation skills in childhood, so we don't have those skills. So when something upsetting happens to us, our immediate response is to become flooded with emotions. We lash out, sometimes with anger, sometimes with tears, sometimes with disconnection and withdrawal. But the key to emotional regulation is learning how to step back from the immediate emotions and then process through them. And that's what forgiveness is about. It's taking that extra step to process through your emotions. To forgive someone means that you release the negative feelings that you have towards them and you release the desire for retribution. It doesn't mean that you have to forget what happened or even have to reconcile with that person. It just means letting go of the anger, the resentment, the bitterness, the vindictive thoughts you may have towards that person. It is hard to forgive because it requires a level of self-awareness and emotional regulation that many of us aren't used to doing. And here's why it's so important to do. But won't that make me a doormat? Forgiveness is also good for your health. So how do you go about forgiving someone? It takes some time and some effort, but here's a few ways to get started. It's important to remember that forgiveness is a process, not an event. If you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you next time.